I haven't even looked at my email, but I know you sent it. So
Monday, the 6th. I gotta do that. I haven't done that.
yeah, got it.
Okay, let's call to order the regular meeting of the Morristown Township Board of Education. This meeting was called in conformance with Open Public Meetings Act with adequate notice provided in the Courier Post and Burlington County Times on June 30th, 2024. That can't be right. 2023, sorry. That's my mistake. It's written here correctly. May I please get a moment of silence? Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you get me up right now? James, may I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Arcara Burns.
Present.
Mrs. Barnes.
Here.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso.
Here.
Dr. Myatt.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
Mrs. Morano. Mr. Weeks. Mrs. McCopolis.
Here.
Mr. Villanueva.
Here.
Thank you.
And may I please get a motion for the approval of the March 7th, 2024 special meeting, the March 19th, 2024 regular and executive meeting.
So moved. Okay.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Noes or abstentions? Thank you. You ready to go? Yeah. We're going to go a little bit out of order because we have a special guest and a presentation that we would like to start our meeting with. And so, Mr. Vollendorf, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, everybody. This is actually a very pleasant thing, and I'm very happy to stand up here before you to deliver this news. You had heard the board and myself, perhaps at other meetings, if you watched them, about the development of a partnership with one of our local businesses in creating a reunification site for the district. So what does that mean? In the most tragic of circumstances, if schools had to be evacuated, a school had to be evacuated, and we needed to bring students to a safe location to be reunified with their family, we needed a site to be able to do that. Within district, the main site was the high school, but if the incident occurs at the high school or at the middle school, where are we going? What are we doing? I was very engaged in this work in Gloucester County, and we developed 2 sites in Gloucester County and went into partnership with local businesses to develop it. And we have partnerships down there with Riverwinds in West Defford, and also, why am I drawing a blank? Total Turf in Pittman. So when I came to Morristown, I saw the need, and I worked very closely with Jim Carruthers, who's in charge of our Office of Emergency Management. When I went to my first meeting, I started asking the question, well, through a variety of channels, we were able to get in contact with the new owners of the Players Courtyard, which used to be the old field house. And all we had to do was ask. And we were invited over, and Anthony, who I'm going to bring up in a moment, took us on a tour. They were in the midst of still recreating that space, and the excitement and enthusiasm that he led us through that place, it was almost as though he was selling the concept to us. About, yeah, we could do here and kids could be here, and then you would be able to do, the buses could come in. I mean, it's just swimming with ideas. And this is not because he ever did this before, but he understood implicitly the need and felt driven by just an innate communal desire to do right by the community. And I was just blown away. It's usually me coming in trying to convince somebody why this is a great idea and why you should do it. And that was not the case. So I felt at the very least, we had to acknowledge that we have an agreement with the Players Courtyard, and it's an agreement and a contract that I hope, and I know all of us hope, we will never need and that we will never use. But there's a sense of peace of mind of knowing that a place exists that will embrace us and help us through what would likely be one of the most difficult scenarios that we could ever find ourselves in. And unfortunately, we do have to prepare and do all that we can in the hopes that we will never have to go down that road. So Anthony, if you'll come up here and join me, I'd just like to read this certificate that I want to give you, and I hope that you'll proudly display it in your courtyard. This basically reads, the Morristown Public School Board of Education presents this certificate to the Players Courtyard Pickleball Club. The Morristown School District is proud to recognize the Players Courtyard Pickleball Club, who have generously agreed to allow their facility as a reunification site for Morristown school staff and students. Their gracious partnership will provide a safe and efficient facility, and we are deeply appreciative of their partnership. This level of cooperation and spirit exemplifies the very meaning of the word community. Presented to you. And Tim, my deepest gratitude. Thank you so much. You'll never need it. Thank you. Here's another. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe, for giving us all the background Mr. Ventura, thank you very much. Thank you for offering up your facility. As Joe said, we hope to never have to call on it, but it does give peace of mind that we have backup plans in case the unthinkable happens, which we obviously all hope will never happen. And Joe, I mean, to your credit, it's just another step in advancing our interest in making sure that our schools are safe and secure and, preparing for the worst. I mean, we've increased the number of SLEO officers that are at our buildings, which has really been fantastic. And this is yet another example of your initiative to bolster our security in our schools. So thank you. With that, there's a lot going on at the moment in terms of activity with the board. We've got our budget on for final approval this evening. As you may know, we're also going to have a presentation from various people in administration and Steve Schreier, who's with us from Freytag, which is our engineering firm, about the referendum that we have planned for likely about a year from now. So you'll have an update on kind of where things stand, and Mr. Bollendorf and Mr. Heiser and others are going to give an update on that. Also on our agenda this evening, we are approving the formation of our negotiations committee. This is for purposes of negotiating the teachers and staff members contract with the MEA, the Morristown Education Association. The committee will be comprised of Claudine Morano, Mick Weeks, who is recovering from knee surgery at the moment, Danielle Miller, who special thanks because she'll be chairing the committee. So thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Claudine. And thanks to Mick. And I'll also be a member of that committee. And we are going to be negotiating our contract much earlier than we typically do. The current contract expires at the end of June of 2025. And for as long as I've been on the board, they're typically negotiated in the spring of the year that they expire. And some issues were brought to our attention that we thought were important to address sooner rather than later. And we thought it would be a good idea to commence the negotiation process earlier than we typically do and hopefully come to a quick resolution. And from the board's perspective, we hope to arrive at a contract that appropriately rewards and incentivizes staff to come to Morristown. People that are just entering the profession, we want to make sure that we are competitive with our starting salaries. And we want to ensure that we do it in such a way that we can continue to hire and maintain the great staff that we currently have. And particularly with, you'll hear some tonight about anticipated enrollment increases. So, I think we need to project out and think about the potential need to hire additional staff. So we need to structure the contract in ways that are fiscally responsible, not only in the near term, but in the long term. So we look forward to getting those negotiations underway. Look forward to working with the MEA and hopefully coming to a quick resolution. But I wanted to report about that. And so as Mr. Bollendorf had written to the community, switching gears here, we've talked a lot about a capital referendum to address various needs and wants within the district. You may recall that there was a proposal in 2019. We have been working, well, I say we, but it's administration, our architects have been working to evaluate where we are, what we need, and sort of the contours of what a referendum could look like. And so I will, at this point, pass the microphone off to Mr. Bollendorf to get us started on our presentation.
Well, before we do the presentation, if you don't mind, I want to get these students up here because they're the happiest part of the meeting every single month. So let's get these kids up and tell us about the great
Thank
things
you,
going
thank
on in the
you.
high school.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. I'm Bhavika, the senior class liaison. And as the weather warms up and it gets more and more beautiful outside, it really feels like summer is here. But even though we have 2 months left until graduation and summer break, seniors have some fun events to look forward to. First, tomorrow is a very important day. It is May 1st, which means that for many colleges, it is Commitment Day. In terms of MHS, May 1st would be the day that we have our senior sunrise and wear our college t-shirts to school. But this year, FAFSA is having some delays, and that's a financial aid document, so some seniors are still considering their options. So MHS has delayed our commitment day to May 31st. Many seniors are committed, though. I'm excited to inform you all that I have committed to Duke University. So thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm very excited to have weather like today's every day. So if you are interested in seeing where the rest of class of 2024 is going, please make sure to check out our Instagram page, mhs.commits2024. I do run it, so this is kind of a shameless plug, but I do really enjoy seeing where all of my classmates are going and crafting their little posts. So besides the very exciting commits, I'm also going to be talking about one of the biggest events of the year, which is prom. So the 2024 prom this year will be on May 17th at the Camden Aquarium. Tickets were on sale 2 weeks and sales ended yesterday. So that's what we have to look forward to in the senior class. I'm really looking forward to finishing the school year strong and cannot be more excited for what us seniors have in store. Thank you, and now I'll pass it on to our junior liaison, Kyle.
Good evening, board, parents, staff, and fellow students. Right now, us juniors are feeling the strain of impending AP tests. For those of us who are taking the tests, the upcoming 2 weeks will be filled with angst, stress, relief, hopefully, and maybe just a little bit of, wow, I think I just aced that. These AP tests are the ends of long journeys that began all the way in September. We will all be studying hard, knowing that a 3, 4, or 5 means college credit and even the chance to graduate in just 3 years from college. For juniors, they also show to future universities, along with our grades, our aptitude in diverse subjects from physics to art history to economics. However, in the off chance that we don't do well, it has no negative impact on our future. So I think we're all carrying that bit of relief with us. One thing is certain, though. By May 17th, the tests will be in the rearview mirror, and the grades will not arrive until early July. So we've got time to just chill out. Also, May 17th, prom. Prom will be at the aquarium in Camden from 7 to 11 p.m. on May 17th. There is a half day that day, so no one has to worry about having enough time to get ready. Everyone will have more than enough time. Ticket sales for prom started Monday, April 15th, and they ended yesterday. So everyone has a ticket who's going by now. Also, through various fundraisers, I am proud to say that we have raised enough money for not only the Shark Tunnel for photo ops, but also Touch a Shark for just a little bit of fun. So thank you and good night.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name's Sophia Baram, and I am your sophomore class liaison. So right now, there are quite a few things that are coming up in student council. And right now, as I talked about last meeting quite a bit, student council is preparing to give a tour on May 18th to Morristown High School's class of 1984 in celebration of their 50th year reunion. So basically, they will come to the high school and we will show them a video with pictures from their yearbook, and then lead them on a tour around MHS to show them everything that's new or different and changed from when they went there. We did this last year and they really enjoyed it, which is why this 1984's class is coming back. And then additionally, as sophomore student council's service project for the year, we are going to be helping Morristown's fire department. We are planning on getting together and making sandwiches for the firefighters and then delivering it to stations 311 and 312. And these are the fire departments located on Main Street and Chester Avenue. And we are able to do this all thanks to a fellow sophomore student council member, Cole Ransom, who volunteers at the Cinnaminson Fire Department. This service project will truly start once our current snack drive that is run by the freshmen is finished at the end of the week, and Alyssa will explain more about that to you now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alyssa, your freshman class liaison. Tonight, I will be informing you about Student Council's snack drive for Urban Promise. Urban Promise is a nonprofit organization in Camden dedicated to enriching the lives of Camden students. The snack drive was organized and executed by Freshman Student Council with the help of our advisors. The idea came from freshman liaison Lily Chakis and freshman historian Tara Salem. We originally were going to be collecting snacks through April 22nd to the 26th, but we decided to push it back to the 29th. Each student council member signed up for a homeroom that they went to a couple times throughout the week to promote the snack drive, along with flyers that we hung up around the school building. We asked students to bring in different packaged snacks such as bagged chips, granola bars, pretzels, and popcorn. We were very happy with our great turnout. Tara, Lily, and a few other members will be taking a bus to Urban Promise headquarters this Thursday to deliver the snacks. Thank you.
You guys know the drill. Thank you. Thank you. As every month we thank you. And as Joe said at the outset, it is the great happy part of our meeting, but you're certainly free to leave as we get into the nitty gritty. Take care. And Joe, now I'll pass it off to you.
Now I'm on. Click that next slide. Good evening, everybody. Oh, you're my slide guy in the back? Thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody needs a slide guy. That's for sure. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm sure many of you are here specifically because of the letter that you saw come out on Thursday, and you're wondering what's going on. So tonight's a great opportunity for you to get a first look at the things that are going through our minds, the things that we're thinking about. And I think we start that conversation by talking about why. You know, what is it that we need? Well, you know, I came here a year and a half ago, which is hard for me to even believe. I was supposed to be here for 6 months. And I was asked, you know, at the end if I would, you know, give them some sort of analysis of what I thought. And they were gracious enough to ask me if I would stay a little longer. That was a year and a half ago. And I think I'm staying until December now, which will be the maximum length of time that I can stay. And it's just been a wonderful experience. I have to start with that. There's so much to offer here in Morristown, but things are changing all the time around us. And it's really important for districts to pay attention to what those things are and to make sure that what it is that they're providing for their students is the best that they can provide for them with what it is that they can give them. You've invested a lot of money already over time into your schools, but time doesn't paying attention to when things need to be fixed, need to be replaced, need to be repaired, need to be brought up to speed to where they need to be. At the end of the day, what you hope to create is an environment that's going to continue to be flexible and in a position to change as we move forward. The rapid growth and development that we're dealing with in our world today requires that of us as educators to be able to provide for our children the things that we think and believe will set them best up for success moving forward in life. Perfect example. Who heard of AI except in a movie 5 years ago? And now a whole career path is being developed in that area. If we're not up to speed and cutting edge with what it is that we're doing and keeping our facilities done in such a way that we can very quickly pivot and provide flexibility to our students, then we're doing them a disservice. So that's part of it. The other part of the why is the shifting needs of programming that we already have in place here that we're so proud of. People want to look at raw numbers all the time and they say, well, what's the population of the school? Why do we need this? And there's been a lot of attention being paid on this new development that's coming to us, and that's changing the shape. That's a factor. It's an important factor, but it's really not the main factor. If absent of that, I would be telling you the same things that you're going to hear from me right now. You have your first and second grades who are overpopulated. You have this pride in these neighborhood schools that many kids who register late don't get to attend because there's no room at Baker, or there's no room at South Valley, or there's no room at Roberts. You're running class sizes at 25, which is the board maximum allotment for first and second grade. That's way over best practice. You don't even have full day kindergarten. You're one of, I think, 8 or 9 towns in all of the state of New Jersey. Morristown, such a great district, doesn't offer full day kindergarten without pay for the other half of the day. So, if there were no new buildings coming, you have a space problem. That's a very reasonable analysis. So what do we do? What do we do? Well, you look at the elementary schools and can we build up? Can we add up? The answer is no. When they weren't built to contain a second story. The foundations wouldn't support that. The architects who we asked to come in, who you'll hear from later, they helped us do this analysis, but we kind of knew that ahead of time. The land that it was built on, some of it very low profile, swampland, building out, is not acceptable. Can't be done. And even if you could, maybe South Valley, but now you have a bigger elementary school than the other two. So which kids that would normally go to Baker or Roberts now go to South Valley? Okay, so all of these things are taken into consideration. I know a plan was on the book some years ago. I know it didn't go over, but there are some real realities that we have to wrap our head around when we talk about creating space. Where is their availability? And the most and biggest place that we have that availability is at your middle school, which isn't by best practice a standard middle school because it doesn't offer 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, just 7th and 8th. So you develop this kind of anomaly in the UES that offers a hybrid of both elementary and middle school education for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Not optimal. Not optimal. Moving kids to a full teaming model for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is your optimal. And that's really important that we look at that. And creating an environment where an entire grade level can continue to be contained in a teaming model has to be big enough and efficient enough and provide the auxiliary spaces in that building to continue with small class instruction and appropriate other levels of instruction, including a full-size gym. That's critical. So how have I created space at the elementary level? I haven't got there yet because the big wonderment always has been, well, what about the 3rd graders? Well, part of, I think, the hesitation there may have been in the past is that in our minds, we're thinking we're going to send our 3rd graders to the UES. This plan would involve moving 3rd grade to that school, but it won't be the UES. It's going to be reimagined. It's going to be a 4th elementary school of 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. There will be no model in there where you're teaming and running an alternate schedule for 6th graders and trying to do something different for 4th and 5th graders and marry all that with the staff that you have. A very difficult, if not impossible, task. That comes off the board. We can even consider renaming it. Give it a great name. Make it a welcoming environment and a reimagined environment that makes it another elementary school in Morristown. And now we've created at least 4 classrooms in every single one of our elementary buildings. Not to mention this plan that you'll see tonight will talk about reimagining space within space. The programming that we have here in Morristown is exemplary. You've created an environment where all of our kids have an opportunity to attend school here. It's not like that everywhere. There's this focus on special education, the development of programming for our multiply disabled kids, our autistic kids, our kids who are in special need. We've created a home environment for them where they attend school in their neighborhoods with the kids that they live with in their neighborhoods. And we do it better than anywhere else it can be done. But right now, you're taking up full-size classrooms for 5 or 6 kids, sometimes less. Reimagine that space. Create smaller learning environments, and now you're even increasing more classrooms in the elementary schools that would allow us to then decrease class size in first grade, decrease class size in second grade, decrease class size in kindergarten, while also creating space that we can finally get to full-day kindergarten. That should be a major goal. And increase opportunity for preschool education also in Morristown. And it's just not special needs programming. When you look at the middle school and the high school, the vast variety of elective and AP programming that we offer, it just doesn't benefit the gifted and talented, but also offer career paths and real careers for kids to explore areas of digital media, telecommunications, computers, all of the things that we offer and will continue to evolve to offer in the areas of engineering and CAD, all these places where opportunity is available for our kids to be able to take that next step. You need the environment and flexible spaces to be able to provide and change with the times so that as one thing goes out, another thing comes in. You have to be able to do that. And what's being imagined by the work that has been done by our architects, which you're going to see shortly, all leads to that as an important thing. I haven't even looked down at my notes. I've been living and breathing this now for 18 months. It's in my heart and it's in my passion. And I believe it's something that this town deserves. You pride yourself as being one of the greatest districts in the entire state of New Jersey. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you live in a community where people care. You live in a community where people value their education. We can argue about the value that it places on your homes because people want to live in Morristown. And it's just not because of the beautiful streets. It's because of these schools. And you can't just sit back. You have HVAC units in our elementary schools that are univents. That's ancient technology. Finding parts or Freon for some of these things has become impossible. Their air ventilation that is pulled in and required by law is coming from the ground, which is often moist, damp, all right, where the lawnmowers run up against. Putting rooftop units that are more efficient will save money over time and provide cleaner energy for our students is a critical change. Security. Right now, we're doing all kinds of things with security, as you heard earlier, but adding to those security measures in ways in which we can embed technology. We have software packages coming in called Silox for next year, finding integrated models with our locking mechanisms, our PA systems, which are outdated, our alarm mechanisms. All of those things are critical infrastructures that have to be stayed on top of and have to be changed and updated over time. So the question is, well, why aren't we budgeting for these things? What can we do? All right, well, there's certain realities when it comes to the budget. The budget allows for a 2% tax increase on the local tax levy. That seems like a lot, but you guys know what the cost of living is. You know how things are going. There's no way you can maintain the pace of running a school district, paying teachers what they deserve, all right, and keeping your buildings looking the way they want, what they should on that kind of money. It's just not possible. It's not mathematically possible. So a referendum is a way we can add to and do the things that need to be done, but doing it strategically and doing it smart in recognition of the taxpayer and recognition of what they do and recognition of what the state can provide us is another part of doing it at the right time. So with that, I segue into our BA, James Heiser.
Thank you, Mr. Bollendorf. For those who have been in attendance for the month of March, I only have 2 slides in this presentation, so my piece of this presentation will be much shorter than my budget introduction and budget workshop. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that will be thankful for that. Um, so I wanted to go into a little bit more detail. And to Mr. Bollendorf's point, our annual budget is not able to support the types of projects that we were talking about in a referendum, nor should it. So, for example, one of the things that if you've been coming to board meetings, you've heard recently that we had a ROD grant opportunity at Baker. That ROD grant opportunity ultimately gave us the opportunity to have a $4.2 million HVAC project, of which the state said, we're going to fund 40%. We're going to give you $1.7 million towards that project. So we're doing a full building worth of HVAC, a $4.2 million project, and our local share is $2.5 million. That is exactly why you want to consider a referendum as an opportunity to do these types of projects. It brings state money, tax money that's already been paid in by taxpayers to the state. It brings that money back to Morristown. So that's exactly the opportunity that we have in front of us. So one of the things that you will recall in our annual budget process is we typically start our budget way over budget. Somewhere, one year we were $12 million over budget. This year we started the process $18 million over budget. The bulk of that $18 million over budget, 12 million of it was in what's called capital outlay. Those are projects that we're trying to get our general fund budget to ultimately afford, but we just can't do so because we have to make ends meet otherwise. So we have to delay those projects. It doesn't mean that they still aren't needed. For example, 5 of the projects that were in this year's budget that ultimately had to be cut and punted were PA systems at 5 of our buildings. Those are still needed, and we need to make those improvements for security enhancements. The referendum will allow us to do that. Can you go to the next slide, please? So in terms of timing, one of the things that you'll recall in my budget presentations, and if you haven't seen them, I always inform the board of where we are standing with our outstanding debt. Couple reasons for doing that. Number one, to understand what we have in front of us in our annual budget process. Number two, it's also important to understand that if you have debt aging that's coming up for your final payment, more than likely, whatever you put in when you did that is also end of life. So for example, a bond is typically about 20 years. Well, the useful life of HVAC is about 20 years. Sometimes you don't get 20 years. It's no different than your household. You put in a new HVAC unit, maybe the warranty's 5 years. Maybe you're told the useful life is 10 years. Well, maybe at the end of 10 years, it's in great condition and you have to do an assessment of it and say, you know what, we can get another 5 years out of this. Or maybe it's not in great condition and it needs to be replaced sooner. That is a lot of what our architects and our engineers have been doing for the last few months. January, you'll recall we brought in a new architect firm, Freytag. Mr. Schreier is here from Freytag to go over some of that process and what we've been doing. But turning over our architect and bringing in a new architect and a new engineer has allowed us to do a deep dive on all of our infrastructure within our district. So some of that aging infrastructure, we have boilers from the 1980s. Those obviously, they're end of life. We got to get those out and replace those. And we're starting to do some of that through other opportunities, through other grant funding sources, but it's not able to cover all of it. Mr. Bollendorf stated about HVAC units. So HVAC units, one of the things that is kind of being phased out for environmental purposes is Freon, R22. So some of our units use R22 Freon. Well, R22 is very expensive to get if you can get it these days. Those types of units need to be replaced. Not only need to be replaced because it's better for the environment, but it's also going to be better on our annual budget and more efficient, being energy efficiency. So some of the things that we're looking at in this, we're looking at newer boilers, we're looking at newer HVAC equipment, we're looking at lighting controls to help lower our annual budget process as well. At this point in time, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Schreier, who will go through some of their assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Good evening, Morristown representatives. I'm Steve Schreier. I'm a senior associate and architect from Freytech Weiss Hopkins Duthie. I'm here on behalf of the principal architect, George Duthie, who could not be here this evening. So our district-wide project planning implementation studies. Next slide, please. Tonight's agenda, a few talking points for planning for Morristown Township school buildings. Needs assessment consideration. So reviewing the district's needs and potential projects that could accommodate them, our office's recommendations, and some next steps. Needs assessment consideration. So student needs and programming, possible system failures as equipment ages or comes to the end of the service life, enhanced safety, security, and well-being, opportunity for state support through referendum, projects outside scope of the annual budget, as James had mentioned, project value versus project benefit analysis, sustainability and some of those goals, increase usefulness or functionality of spaces, and utility. Recommendations for spaces for students. So a little bit kind of recapping what was just previously presented, expanding the pre-kindergarten and kindergarten programs, smaller kindergarten through third grade class sizes, shifting the third grade to upper elementary school, shifting the sixth grade to William Allen Middle School, flexible instructional spaces. So some considerations beyond the pre-K and K expansions, multi-purpose room renovations at the elementary schools, plus updates to strengthen elementary focus at upper elementary school. At the middle school, renovations and additions to accommodate that shift of the sixth grade to that building. Also looking at the instructional spaces and the gym. At the high school, some improvements for the cafeteria area and the serving areas, the gym, and the instructional spaces. Recommendations that impact building integrity. These include roofing, masonry restoration, up on the roof, the skylights, some associated flashing, exterior windows and doors. Recommendations that impact indoor environmental improvements. These would include your heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems and equipment, boilers, water heaters, centralized controls at all buildings, classroom, exterior, and emergency lighting. Recommendations that impact safety, security, and the grounds, that's the sites. So considerations, fire alarm systems, a public address, the messaging alert systems, and upgrading those. Newer security features, taking advantage of some of the latest trends in security upgrades. Improvements to athletic recreational areas and reconfigured traffic flow. So a few images on this slide to make note of drainage improvements around the playground areas at the elementary schools, reconfigured traffic flow and security enhancements at those elementary schools, and those playground updates to improve accessibility. So next steps, timeline. We're going to complete our due diligence process, which is underway. The district is seeking community input, and that'll be starting this month through June. Organizing and compiling all the data that we receive, whether it's our office, from the community input, from district representation, as well as our consulting engineers that are working with through our due diligence process. We're planning for a state submission to the New Jersey Department of Education at the end of the summer, July, August. Through the fall and winter months, the district will continue community engagement, and then we're looking at that March 2025 referendum. And following the passing of the referendum, implementation. This would include detailed designs, all the construction documents, bidding process, and construction taking place from April 2025 to December 2028. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. So as you heard from our architect, our next steps are really going to be to look at the architect's recommendations and fine tune the potential projects that would be submitted for DOE approval. However, as part of that process, we want to know what's important to the community as we plan for the future. In order to accomplish that, one of the first steps that we want to take to engage with the community and begin to gather your input is to put out a survey that will come out in the coming week. You will be able to access this survey through the website, as well as a communication will go out from Mr. Bollendorf when the survey opens. Before the end of the school year, we will be able to present out the findings, some of the themes and the takeaways from that survey that we will be considering before we do the final submission to the state. In addition to that, we also want to invite you over the next 2 months to come out to the home and school meetings where you'll have an opportunity to ask questions and seek clarification of the information that was presented tonight. And in addition to that, and I know that this was a recommendation already from the public, is that we will be establishing a preliminary referendum website that we're calling MTPS Focus on the Future. So for instance, tonight's presentation and a recording of this meeting will be there. When the survey is released, you'll be able to access that directly from the website, and we'll have a link that will take you directly to the MTPS Focus on the Future. And as we start next year and we look to further our engagement with the community, this will be the place where you will be able to access information. The announcements, updates on the referendum will all be here. So we want to make sure that we're hearing your concerns and that we are gathering input that ultimately informs not only the referendum, but as we look forward to the future, we know that the district is also going to have to engage in strategic planning. So as part of this begins our seeking input and gathering information about what is valuable to the community and what we need to consider as we build a vision for teaching and learning in the district. And we will end with Mr. Bollendorf.
You heard me say earlier, you know, a community like Morristown, it doesn't get great by accident. It gets great because people before us and people during us were forward thinkers. They looked towards the future. These things just didn't spring out of thin air. There's a plan, a thought, a process in the development of a community and the school system that represents that community. So it's really important for you to understand that this is a process. This is not a situation where this is what we're doing, vote yes or no. The time is now to see the things that we're thinking about, the things that we're considering, the things that are on the table for our input and for our thoughts. The board is highly engaged and supportive of the process. We hope that our community engages in that process as well. Time is of the essence as we move forward in time. So questions during the course of this, your input, all extraordinarily welcomed along the way. But we can't shirk our responsibility. Like people before us, we accepted these roles. Our board is elected by this community, and we collectively have a responsibility to maintain the high quality of schools and to do the very best that we can to ensure that not only our children, but our grandchildren and the families that will remain and continue to raise families in Morristown, perhaps the one that someday will buy your home, will have the same opportunities that you've been afforded over the same period of time. So it's obviously a very exciting time for the district. It's scary, but it's exciting. And it's something that we should embrace. It's something we should truly embrace and enjoy that work and look forward to where this is going and how it's going to impact the children who live in this community. Because at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So with that, I ask the board if you have any questions for the engineer, myself, Mr. Heiser, Karen, anybody at all. If we can answer any of your questions at this point in time, we would welcome that.
Great. Well, thank you, Joe, James, Karen, and Steve. This is a very informative presentation for us. I know many of us up here have been sort of living with this, as Joe had said, for the last 18 months or so, and I hope that the update to the community has been helpful to better understand where we are in the process. And I do hope that everybody takes advantage of the opportunities to engage in giving us feedback via the surveys that will be going out and the other avenues that Dr. Benton had mentioned. I do have a couple of questions and I think I know the answer soon, but I do think it would be helpful for people to hear certain aspects as it went into planning. And so, Mr. Joe, you had mentioned examining the elementary schools and the possibility of expanding those to create additional space at each of those individual buildings. And you described, you know, that it's not feasible from a construction standpoint for various reasons. What kind of thought went into creating a new standalone school building? I mean, the school owns Memorial Field, which is a sizable property. There may be other places that the district could have put a new school building in. What sort of thought process went into looking at that?
I'm going to let James jump in on this as well, because he can offer you some insight, particularly as it relates to a referendum and how a new building would differ from putting on an addition and an addendum to existing structures within the district. But right off the bat, and the easy answer is that obviously adding on to an existing school is far more affordable than acquiring new land and building on that land for the purposes of a new school. My personal opinion is I think that that's something that is in the offing for this district down the road as a preschool facility for this community. So it would be land acquisition, and then another question in terms of building an environment such as that, but it's not really in this particular go-round. But the place that we landed for the purposes of being conscious of cost and also back to the various things that we talked about, a new building doesn't solve the problem of eliminating sixth grade and putting them into a middle school environment. That can only happen by adding on to the existing middle school. So really, in my opinion, it's really the best case scenario for development of a curriculum and an education that is more mainstream and exemplified by best practice.
Absolutely. One of the things to building a new building, it is obviously more cost effective to build an addition onto an existing building, and there's certain funding formulas that go along with both of those. Building a new building requires additional time to find the land, additional approvals that are necessary for site improvements to prep that land, as well as there's significant hurdles that you have to overcome with the state to ultimately, you see it a lot in communities that are realizing significant expansion. Years and years ago, Egg Harbor Township was a prime example of one of those. And to ultimately go through that process, you have to go through a process of proving that you have unhoused children, which is a significant challenge. It takes time to do that.
Great. Thank you. The other question I had, James, you had a slide up there and you talked about the debt that's rolling off for our prior referenda. I know there was a referendum for the UES. I think there was one or two after that. Can you talk about sort of the implications of that debt maturing and how that sort of plays into the timing that we're thinking about in terms of incurring new debt?
Yeah, absolutely. So the debt that we currently have will mature in 2029. So looking at a March 2025 vote, we are obviously ahead of that timeline. But one of the things that we are looking into right now is the potential of looking at what's called a non-conforming bond issuance, which will allow us to have flexibility in the first few years of payment in the new debt, so we can really kind of flatten the tax rate and you don't see a large increase in years 1 through 3. The increase happens in year 4 when the existing debt is retired. So it helps us manage that debt.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else on the board have any questions?
I do. I just want to clarify, Dr. Benton mentioned one of the ways that the community could be engaged in this process would be to go to home and school meetings. And I am a true lover of home and school, as most people know, But the reality of it is those meetings are at 9:30 in the morning during the week. And I think that that excludes a lot of people. And so I hope that consideration is given to additional opportunities for people who can't make it there and who maybe don't feel like they can express how they feel about the referendum via a survey or an email to individual members of the board or the administration. I just hope that there are other ways that they'll be able to communicate. I also, as we've discussed previously and we've discussed on the communications committee, I'm hopeful that we will have some community engagement forums that deal with this referendum and really give the community an opportunity to engage with us versus us telling them. I know that we want that, and I think that we should not overlook the importance of those forums.
Mark, I just wanted, as a member of the F&O committee, we've had the opportunity to engage with Steve and his firm. I think that we had the opportunity to turn lemons into lemonade, I guess, or which way it goes. Having new eyes from an architectural firm, I think the timing has been fantastic. You know, we had an architect for many, many years, and having fresh eyes, walking around our buildings, evaluating, you know, all that he presented has been a real value. And I want to thank you for doing that. And James, of course, escorting them around.
All right. Seeing no other comments or questions, thank you again. That was very helpful. I know there's much more to come, and so I appreciate all the work that's going into this. Next on our agenda is public comment on agenda items, and this is the part of the meeting to comment on items that are listed on our agenda. The ground rules are set forth in the agenda itself, but please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. State your name when you approach the microphone as well as your address. And may I please get a motion to open public comment? All in favor? All right. If you'd like to make a comment on things listed on our agenda, please approach the microphone.
Hi, Daniela Reagan, 620 North Washington Avenue. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the presentation tonight about where we are and the planning and all the work that you guys have been doing. I really, really loved all of your comments, Joe. I think your communication was really lacking last time in the referendum, and I feel like you're just the right leader. I wish you could just stay on just until March, but I understand. But at least you're going to be here for a lot of the community engagement that you guys talked about. I'm really appreciative of that. I love Melissa's idea about a community engagement forum, and I'm happy to hear that there's going to be a survey going out. I think that's great. One thing I really hope that the community has a chance to hear from more directly is other district leaders, principals, and I would really love like a really clear picture from them about the issues that they're facing. And we talked about it a little bit tonight, but I feel like it really needs to be spelled out for the community, especially when there's something coming up that's maybe not very popular. You know, last time the referendum was similar, you know, 3rd grade moving up to UES, that was not popular. And I don't think it was very well stated about the reasons why and the ramifications of what would happen if it didn't pass. And, you know, a lot of us are not in the classroom. We're not in the buildings. We don't see what's going on or why this is an issue. And, you know, some of the issues are facing more specific populations of our students that maybe not all parents even know about. You know, so I'm just kind of hoping to hear a lot more. And, you know, engagement from us via a survey is great, but if we don't really know what we're talking about, if we're not really aware of the risks to our students and what increased class sizes are going to look like, and like what are the ramifications? What's going on now? Are there specialists like speech pathologists and special ed teachers sharing space? Is that a problem? Are speech pathologists, or I'm saying this a lot because I'm a speech pathologist, I've had to work in a district where I was in a closet and it was not preferable. So, not everybody thinks about the speech therapist or those other specialists. I would like to know, if this doesn't pass, what's going to happen to our kids? What is education going to look like in Morristown? Because I just really want it to pass. I kind of went totally off and I wrote down a bunch of stuff and I don't know if I covered everything, but that's basically the gist of it. Okay. Oh, and at the home and school meetings, I'm hopeful that there will be a Board of Ed representative at those meetings to answer those questions. And yeah, more ways than just the home and school meeting to answer those questions and communicate those needs would be really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your time's up. Thank you and good night. Hi, Chris Keating, 722 Bentley Court. Third time's a charm. So in looking at the numbers that are being used to project class sizes in the upcoming years, especially in UES kindergarten included, where are we pulling the data that's being used to project what the increase in our student population will be in the upcoming years? And with the expansion into a fourth class or fourth school, what do we anticipate the range being for projected class size for kindergarten through second grade? Well, I think the increase that you're referencing is the onset of new housing that's going to come into the community. I wanted to make the point as, although I think that that's very critical, I see a need existing already, and we haven't even gotten there. We have a demographer that we're going to be able to utilize that we can extrapolate that data. But even in the absence of that, running classes in first and second grade at 25 kids and kindergarten at 22, in my opinion, is not optimal by any stretch of the imagination. I see currently right now the potential need for an additional classroom at each of those grade levels in each of those buildings that would allow us to mitigate that. And I do think also that based on what we're hearing from the demographer and what we anticipate, that should satisfy that need over the course of that time. But I also believe that just by moving third grade out and creating 4 classrooms, even in of itself is not enough, which is why I made the comment regarding of subdivision of space that's already there to create smaller learning environments that don't necessarily currently exist. So now, for example, you have 2 classrooms, two classes taking up 2 classrooms that with an appropriate subdivision could be in a singular classroom separated appropriately. And now you freed up a 5th classroom. So I don't know if I've answered your question in fullness, but all that data is obviously going to be rolled out and part of what it is that we're putting out there. But I think it was really critical for us to be able to state unequivocally that even though the onset of housing is a factor, is a serious factor, it's not in and of itself the reason why we're here. All right. The need is now. It's immediate and it'll only get more compounded if we do nothing. I appreciate the response. Thank you.
Hi, Celie Coleman, 215 East Main Street. I just had a suggestion when talking about the home and school meetings and asking questions for the referendum, about the referendum. I don't, at least at South Valley, they don't record them or really share minutes from the meetings at those, but maybe that might be something we can implement for these referendum related meetings, and that could possibly, those videos could be uploaded on the website as well. Just a suggestion.
Wasn't planned to talk, but I am a class size enthusiast. I am Bridget Potts. I teach first grade at Roberts School, and I have come to board meetings at least for the last decade to express my concern about class size. So I figure since we have a captive audience and it's quite topical, just to give some flavor, just a point of reference. So at Roberts, for example, one of our second grade teachers are getting their 25th student this week. We have our first grade at Baker that has been capped since the start of the school year that will feed into 4 second grades capped in second grade, and then we'll feed into third grade. South Valley and Baker are both capped in kindergarten for next year already. So to say, as Joe has already pointed out, and it's just wonderful to have it finally recognized, this is not a new issue. This is not a 23-24. Quite frankly, this isn't an 18-19. This has been an ongoing issue that has, unfortunately now we are out of space. There were times that if we would have had the funds, we could have done this, but now we're at a point where there is no space left. So to Joe's point, whatever housing may or may not come, we are currently at a point that our Baker first grade kids, we already know are going into a second grade with not a single spot for a kid, and then going into third grade in that same position. So in specific to sharing spaces and things like that, obviously, I don't want to misspeak, but yes, spaces are being shared. There's definitely a more ideal way to use our current space, but to say the class size is an issue at our level is an understatement in regards to how big of an issue it is.
All right, anyone else have a public comment? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to close public comment? Oh, sorry.
I had a question about parking. Is this the time to bring it up? It's on the, it says parking and traffic flow on the, you know.
Sure, if you could just state your name and address, you can make your comment and take it from there.
Okay, my name's Ashley Long. I live at 730 Lippincott Avenue. And I have a junior in Morristown High School, and thank God she just got a car, so I don't have to bring her to school every day. And we have not been able to use the bus because we're too close to the school. But I think we're over like a mile away. And a couple of things, they don't have sidewalks right across from the elderly care home. I forget the name of it, right there. The greens, yeah. It stops, the sidewalk stops there and doesn't continue over into the high school. And I've always wondered why that is. That's number one. But number two, it came up over on Facebook this week. One of the students that's a junior published on Facebook that the kids aren't allowed to park at the church across the street from Morristown High School anymore. Do you guys know about that? So the person encouraged her to come to the meeting, which is why we came to the meeting, because that person suggested that the buses don't really need to park in the extra parking lot at the high school, that they could actually park at a municipal parking lot somewhere in town, and that could be used for the students. And that was my question tonight. Is that something that we can do?
Why don't we, if you're done with your comment, we'll close public comment and, you know, James can address it after. Anyone else?
Lisa Trapani, I didn't see it on the agenda, but since you addressed it, Mark, I just want to say, on behalf of the MEA, we welcome the opportunity to open up negotiations. So thank you for forming the committee, and we'll await communication from you as to when to start. So thank you. We do appreciate that.
Great, thank you. Look forward to meeting with you. Anyone else? Okay. Now, can I get a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
All in favor? We'll go a little bit out of order, but James, if you don't mind speaking to the parking issue.
Absolutely. One of the things that we are looking at right now is how we could potentially add additional parking on campus. in this process. We have looked at, in the past, at, opening up that bus depot area. Uh, It's easy to say, but harder to do. Number one, that bus depot area is specifically designed for 54 passenger buses. So the lines that are painted there, it's designed, engineered for 54 passenger buses. There isn't an island in the middle because those buses have to be able to back out. So actually it's a larger space and could fit potentially more vehicles. The additional challenges of moving your transportation depot off-site, well, let's face it, some of those buses are a little old. When those buses are old, we have mechanics that work on them. They have to work on them on site. So if we have them off site, it presents challenges with how we can ultimately move them around. In certain events where we have a bus go down and we have to be able to get to either a spare or do quick repairs, having them off site presents challenges to also all of our office staff would be on site, so all of our drivers would be reporting to our office staff for those keys and for their route ultimately, and having those separated from where they're actually getting in their bus. There's significant timeline issues with that as well. So we have looked at that, and we're still engaged in that process. We're well aware of parking issues throughout the district, so that is something we are looking at.
Great, thank you. Next on our agenda is the board committee reports. And typically we've had the ad hoc committee on new housing leading off this section of the agenda, but I asked that be removed, not that the committee be extinguished, but due to the fact that these issues in terms of enrollment growth have been discussions that are pervasive in, I think, all of our committee meetings. So for now, I've asked that be removed from the agenda, but that committee remains intact and will meet on an as-needed basis. So Melissa, if you could give us an update from communications, please.
This month, we met April 24th. It was not a typical communications committee meeting. We actually were able to receive this presentation by the architects and the engineering firm, which was great for us to hear it. It was myself, Dr. Myatt, and Mr. Villanueva, and other administrators were there as well. And we will meet next month and reconvene to discuss the forums that I mentioned previously.
Any comments or questions for Melissa? Next up, curriculum, Danielle.
The curriculum committee met on April 18th. Members in attendance were myself, Jacqueline Barnes, Dr. Myatt, and Cheryl Makopoulos. Administration was Mr. Bollendorf, Dr. Benton, Mr. Airy, and Mr. Heiser. First, we talked about a sample of tiered interventions. This was informational, and Dr. Benton presented various tiered interventions and the resources available. Next were field trips. There were no new actionable field trips for the April meeting. And then the architect briefed the committee with regard to the detailed walkthrough of the district's buildings and grounds. That was it.
Comments or questions? Next is finance and operations, and Cheryl, I believe, is going to be giving the update.
Yes, you'll get the abridged version tonight because Mick is recovering. We had a Finance and Operations Committee meeting on March 28th. I can't believe that was over a month ago. In attendance was Mick Weeks, Cheryl Makopoulos, Claudine Morano, Jacqueline Barnes, and then from administration, James Heiser, Mr. Bollendorf, Wilson Quintero, Dr. Benton, and Jeff Airy. What we discussed was an action item, which is the 24-25 budget and the county budget review, with a few minor items noted that had to be amended regarding banked cap. The second discussion was around the ESF contract, which is on the agenda tonight for board approval. We discussed the refunding update around the bond. We had a referendum update, which you got all the details tonight. And then we discussed the ROD grant agreement approvals, which are both on the agenda for this evening for board approval. And then we started to discuss the 24-25 RFP bid process
for all the bids that need to start going out. And that's all.
Any comments or questions for Cheryl? All right, thank you. Does anybody have any off-board committee reports?
Mark, I just want to say, although.
Oh,
Paul's-
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
No, no, technically, we didn't, you don't have the minutes. We put off this month's meeting because the administration was continuing to kind of dive deeper on the substance abuse policy and the cell phone policies. They engaged UES, WAMS, and high school administration, I believe, with feedback from some teachers on specifically the cell phone policies, and we're expected to meet May 14th.
Great. Okay, again, I apologize. I didn't mean to overlook it. Does anybody have any off-board committee reports?
Yes, hi everyone. Good evening. I'm here to report on the More Arts Committee. More Arts hosted a night of comedy on April 11th that featured the comedians Jeremy Hall, Missy Hall, and Dina Blizzard. Over 200 guests came to the Morristown Community House, and it was a wonderful event that raised funds for teacher grants that will extend to the arts curriculum and scholarships for the graduating seniors. And also the More Arts Scholarship Review Committee will be meeting in early May to make award decisions for the scholarship applicants that they've received, and that will be announced at Senior Recognition Night. And that is all I have for More Arts Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brooke.
I just have real quick speak. I wasn't able to attend the meeting this month because it fell at the same time as the Communications Committee meeting. But I wanted to let everyone know that the next meeting is May 30th, and it is an evening meeting at 6 p.m. and it is held in the Star Center connected to the high school. And feel free, go to the Speak website. Lots of great information there, and an email, so you can reach out to their president if you have any questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to our public hearing on the 2024-25 budget. If you recall, back in March, James gave two separate detailed presentations on the budget, which we had approved in our March regular public meeting. So now is the time for the public hearing. So can I please get a motion to open the public hearing on the 2024-25 budget? Second? All in favor? Okay. So we'll open up the public hearing on the budget. If anybody has any comments, please approach the microphone. Now is the time. All right. Seeing nobody, could I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Section 9 of the agenda is adoption of the final budget for 2024 to 2025. The details in terms of the general fund, special revenues, debt service, and the totals are listed in the agenda, as well as the resolution, which I'm not going to read into the record, but it is part of the agenda. So could I please get a motion for approval of the final budget? Second. Any comments or questions? All right, James, I'll just say, again, I know it's a Herculean task every year, and I know this year presented its own challenges, so thank you. Can I get a roll call vote for this, please?
Ms. Arcara Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso,
Yes.
Dr. Mott, Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Moreno,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks, Mrs. McCopolis,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Section 10 of the agenda includes reports to the board. May I please get a motion for approval of items 1 through 5 as set forth in the agenda? Anyone want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. Section 11, recommendations of the superintendent. May I please get approval of items 1 through 3 listed in the agenda? Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. We are at section 11B, Finance and Business. It's a number of items. May I please get a motion for the approval of items 1 through 16 set forth in that section of our agenda? Any comments or questions? All right, I'd just like to express gratitude to the folks that are listed under the donations section there. We are fortunate to be on the receiving end of kind donations every month. And so wanted to thank Brian Kelly for his donation to the boys golf team, Mr. Lin Zhang, who for his donation to the boys tennis team, the Brow Rings, I apologize if I'm butchering Browring, for their donation to the girls golf team, and the Kleins for their donation to the girls golf team as well. So thank you very much. May I, all in favor? Any noes or abstentions?
Yes, I'm voting no to B13 and B14.
13. Thank you. Any other noes or abstentions? Okay. Up next, we have employee relations. As discussed in executive, there were some changes made to one of the schedules in this section. So can I get a motion for the approval of employment relations as modified in executive?
So moved.
Any comments or questions? Could I, you want to go now, or can I get a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Arcaro Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Barnes. Yes. Mrs. Fowles Macaluso.
Yes.
Dr. Myatt.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Moreno.
Yes.
Mr. Weeks. Mrs. McCopolis.
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, with that, it's my sincere pleasure to introduce to all of you tonight, just approved and newly minted, our new addition here in the district, who will take over as principal on July 1st at the UES. She's here in the audience. I'll get her up to say a couple of words, but just a few words about her before we start. She comes to us with 13 years of experience as an educational in elementary education, as a literacy coach, as an ELA supervisor, and most recently as the assistant principal at JVB Wyckoff School in West Windsor, Plainsboro Regional School District. She possesses 2 master's degrees in both education and educational administration, and most recently earned her doctorate from Monmouth University in educational leadership. So I get the distinct pleasure, I think, of for the first time introducing her in public, the new principal at UES. Please welcome Dr. Lindsay Jablonski. Sorry, I was about to mispronounce her last name, Lindsay. I'm sorry you had to sit here so long, but I hope you found it valuable, and welcome.
It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for having me tonight. It was just wonderful the last few weeks getting to learn about this wonderful community, getting to talk to teachers about their dedication and their passion and how wonderful the students are and how this community truly values education. I am so excited and humbled to get to be the new chapter of UES, and I know we will have an undeniably excellent school year next year.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Dr. Jablonski, for coming here and for coming here this evening and for coming to our district as well. We look forward to working with you and seeing all the great things that you'll do at UES. Okay, next on our agenda is suspensions, which are listed in Exhibit 24-315. We are going to hold for now the superintendent's HIB report. We will be reconvening our executive session. We're going to take a recess from the public portion of this meeting and go into a subsequent executive session. And so we are going to table those HIBs for the moment. Next on our agenda is enrollment information. This is all informational only. Is there any old business to report? Any new business? All right. We're now to our second public comment section, and this is the time for public comment related to school matters that are either on or off of the agenda as set forth in our agenda. It's not a question and answer session, but it's an opportunity for you to make public comment about school-related matters, and I'd ask that you please limit your comment to 3 minutes and state your name and address before beginning your comment. Can I get a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
All in favor? All right.
Hi, I'm Kim Warren and I teach at the high school, and I would like to commend my colleagues at South Valley. They celebrated Autism Awareness and Acceptance on Monday, April 15th. The special education teachers prepared so many amazing events to help educate our students and staff. Child-friendly videos about autism were shown in each classroom, along with handouts where facts were shared. The students then had a chance to ask questions. In addition, each student and staff member was given bracelets, pencils, and stickers. Read aloud activities and bookmarks paired with the story The Girl Who Thought in Pictures were shared with the students. The highlight of the day took place at recess, where our new playground communication board was explained to the students so that they can invite their nonverbal friends to play and interact. Bubbles were then distributed to all children. Bubbles are a symbol of joy, hope, and laughter. They bring children together no matter their differences. Just like bubbles, every child is different and differences should be celebrated. Thank you to Ms. Lamina, Mrs. Cost, Ms. Smith, Ms. Hart, and Mrs. Matarese for all their hard work putting together such a fantastic day of learning and fun.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Nicole Dancy from Morristown Home and School. Our most recent news and events, Author Day with the author of Marshmallow and Jordan, the Read It Forward UES book this year, was held on March 27th. This was fully funded by Home and School. South Valley Recess Runners started on April 9th. South Valley STEAM Week and Career Day, April 22nd through April 26th. Baker STEAM Day. Scholastic book fairs were held at the 4 elementary schools. We raised a combined total of $30,000 in Scholastic dollars to be used within Scholastic's catalog for classroom and school libraries. We've spent $4,000 on classroom and library books and books for students in need across all 4 elementary schools. Scholarship applications for Morristown High School has closed this week. Recipients will be notified via email with further information. Recipients will be recognized during the Senior Recognition Night on June 11th. Coming events, 3rd grade dance with student and their special or favorite adult for all 3 elementary schools this Friday, May 3rd. This event is fully funded by Home and School. WHAM STEM Career Day is this Friday, May 3rd. We have over 30 volunteers signed up for this event. A 5th grade assembly with guest speaker Jolette Heilig, the daughter of Katherine Johnson, an African-American mathematician for NASA. She was critical to the success of the first U.S. crewed space flights and was focal point of the movie Hidden Figures. Beach blanket bingo on May 9th, weather permitting, for South Valley students. Hot Wheels family night at the end of May for Roberts students. Staff appreciation events are currently being planned for National Teacher Appreciation Week. And in partnership with MTPS, Home School will be transitioning to a new method for the weekly newsletters. Our first newsletter went out this week. Please see the link to the full announcement within our current newsletter or on our website for more information about how to continue to receive home and school news next year. Stay up to date by visiting morristownhsa.org, Facebook at Morristown Home and School, or Instagram at Morristown HSA. Contact us at any time at info@morristownhsa.org and join Home and School at any time. Your contributions make a difference for our students. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Beth Phillips. I work at Baker. I'm the school nurse, and I would like to share some good news. We would like to thank Sharon Kulik and the kindergarten staff for taking the time to organize and facilitate a visit to a Morristown resident and former employee of the Morristown School District, Dora Jones. Dora, who lives 4 doors down from Baker School, right across from Maple Dawson Park, worked at Morristown Lunch School Recess as a school recess monitor in the 1950s. She also worked at the Morristown Library, helping at the circulation desk and sold encyclopedias in Morristown door to door. She can recall in detail more about Morristown than most of us will ever know. And some of the students that our teachers teach today are probably great-grandchildren of the children that she watched on the playground as a recess monitor. Yesterday, Mrs. Jones celebrated her 100th birthday, and the kindergarten students at Baker walked to her house and gave her a very special well wishes for a happy birthday. We thank Mrs. Jones for her service to our school district, and thank you to Mrs. Kulik for planning this event. It was also featured on ABC Channel 6 News, broadcasted last night. I don't know if it was last night. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, my name is Steve Phillips, and I'm a teacher here at the middle school. And just to fill you in on a couple of things that have been happening here at WAMS. Recently, Senator Troy Singleton visited this very media center and met with Mrs. Gore's language arts class and honors language arts class, and discussed with them how bills get written into law. It was incredibly engaging, and the students had like really well prepared questions. It was awesome to watch those interactions take place with somebody like one of our senators here in New Jersey. We also have been celebrating autism acceptance throughout the month with various activities in our homerooms. We have a school-wide art display up front celebrating autism awareness and leading towards acceptance. And so we've followed through with various activities in some of our classes, which most of the kids have bought into, and it's been pretty engaging. We also have middle school sports that are in full swing, and with the weather in the last couple of weeks, it's been awesome to finally get rolling here with our kids outside playing sports together, which has been pretty incredible. And according to the 2024 Best K-12 Schools Niche Rankings, WAMS has received an overall grade of an A and an A+ for its teachers, and an A for its academics, and a B+ for diversity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Kim Potter. I am one of the school counselors at the UES. I have the honor of sharing with you this evening 2 events that happen at our UES, thanks to 2 of our teachers, Barb Rogers and Lauren Stolzer, and our wonderful HSA. At our UES, we celebrated Literacy Night with the annual Spring Book Fair. In addition, Challenge students hosted carnival games in the cafeteria for family fun. During the UES Book Fair, the 6th grade challenge class provided a carnival for the visitors. This project was part of our Community Service Challenge selected project, selected by the students to give back to our community. 11 students made games for the carnival, and all the students had a great time running the games for our book fair guests. A fun time was had by all. We would like to recognize Barb Rogers this evening, Lauren Stolzer for organizing these events, and our wonderful, hardworking HSA. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Poole. I teach at the high school. I'm a media specialist, and I would like to share some good news as well. Justin's, the leading producer of yearbooks and student-created content, today announced that Morristown High School's yearbook program has achieved the Justin's National Yearbook Program of Excellence 2024 award at the bronze level. The National Yearbook Program of Excellence recognizes engaging yearbooks that reflect a broad representation of the student body while helping students to develop 21st century skills such as communication, collaboration, and information and communication technology literacy. The Morristown High School award-winning yearbook program is under the direction of Melissa Antler, Morristown High School's yearbook advisor. Justin's National Yearbook Program of Excellence Awards are presented twice a year in spring and in fall based on the yearbook's arrival date at school. The award was presented to the Morristown High School Yearbook Program from achieving defined criteria in between 1 and 3 of the following categories: creating an inclusive yearbook, generating school engagement, and successfully managing the yearbook creation process. Justin's is proud to recognize those individuals who have created an exceptional yearbook for their school and community, said Tammy Whitaker, Justin's VP and COO Yearbook Division. These schools did an exceptional job on multiple levels despite the challenges presented by this school year. Yearbooks are a critical part of capturing and telling a school's story, and Justin's is dedicated to supporting yearbook staff members as they do their important work. We would like to recognize Mel Antler for her hard work and dedication to the Morristown High School students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert School. I'm here to share wonderful news about Robert School. Rosemary Anderson, who is a third grade teacher, has taken on the huge task of an annual STEM week. So this is near and dear to a couple of our current board members. Jackie Barnes was quite involved, and her husband taught us the need for dental implants, which came in handy for me a couple of years ago. And Danielle Miller presented not only in her daughter's first grade class, but her other daughter's third grade class on aerospace engineering. To highlight a couple others, we had astrology, regenerative medicine, pharmaceuticals. We had infectious disease, chemistry, and much more. To say that the kids were engaged is an understatement. They were eager to immerse themselves in hands-on experiments, collaborative projects, as well as some virtual presentations. The students channeled their curiosity and discovered that science is applicable in all aspects of their life. We want to thank all the parents and volunteers, and a special shout out to Rosemary Anderson for coordinating the entire week.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, can I get a motion to close public comment, please?
So moved.
All in favor? All right, at this point, we are going to recess and go back into executive session to discuss confidential student matters, confidential legal matters, and the confidential superintendent search. I expect and hope that we will be back out within an hour. The board may take action after we reconvene in public session. If it looks like we're going to exceed 1 hour in executive, I will come back out and update everyone, who I'm sure will still be here, about timing. So with that, may I please have a motion to go back into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor?
See you soon. Good luck.
right up there, because when the home and school person was talking about
Huh?
Sam, go over and get the food.
I'm not the talk.
They want to get going?
Oh, they need you.
They need me?
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear.
Okay, because that is so key.
Well, thank you.
Would you be available just for a phone call?
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I figure we'll probably call you, John, sure. Yeah. So we have to think about how. Yeah, I think, yeah, no, I think we were good in what we even, his big thing was at the very bottom, they had presentation. Yeah. We were like, put a link.
That's real fast.
There you go. All right, Warren, I am,
I was just saying, 'cause I said I'd come out and give it up. Dos más, ¿verdad? Una nomás. All right, can I get a motion to reopen our public meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We just have one item to vote on, and I'm circling back to the superintendent's HIB report, which is section 12B of the agenda. May I please get a motion for approval of the substantiated items UES 5, UES 6, UES 7, high school 11, high school 12, as well as reaffirming UES number 4. Second, please. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions?
I'm abstaining as to number 4.
You. And with that, is there anything for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you.